time for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, should Palestine protest organisers pay for the policing of them? Now, pro-Palestine march organisers could be charged to help cover the costs of policing under proposals being looked at by the Home Office. Metropolitan Police have spent £17 million so far controlling the demonstrations following the Hamas terror attack in October. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should pro-Palestine protest organisers pay for the policing of these marches? Well, let's see what my panel make of that. I'm joined by broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, also broadcaster and author Christine Hamilton. Right, I'm going to start with you, Christine, because you've got a lot on it.
Well, I know that there's lies, damn lies and statistics, but apparently your 17 million has now actually gone up to 20 million.
Yeah.
And 28,000 shifts of the Metropolitan Police have been absorbed by these demonstrations, and 1,600 shifts of other police forces. That means people taken away from looking after the needs, the criminal needs, as it were, of the rest of us. 5,500 rest days have been cancelled. I mean, it is a grotesque intrusion onto the limited police time. And it's not so much as whether they should be made to pay. And one of your panel just now made the point that you have to get permission, so somebody's got a name, they know who they are. They shouldn't be taking place. It is an insult to the rest of us that these marches are taking place every single Saturday, virtually.
But what about the freedom of speech, the fact that we're in a democracy? People would argue against that.
Of course they would, but it's a conflict of rights, isn't it? It's the rights of people to protest, and it's the rights of the rest of us to walk about the streets of London uninhibited, unimpeded and unafraid. And I would like to contrast the rabble, frankly, because that's what they are. They're a rabble, and people flood in and flood out. Whatever the cause is, they think, oh, let's go and join all that. Of course, there are some genuine people there, but a hell of a lot of them are just sort of rent-a-mob. Against the peaceful protest of people like, I think his name was Richard Nazari Radcliffe, Nazanin Zaghari Radcliffe, do you remember, who was imprisoned for all those years, and he had a dignified, solemn protest going on hunger strike. That's the sort of thing that we should be allowing. Not these. They are protesting about things that are going on in a foreign land, and yes, they're anti-Jewish, so we've got Jewish community,
but not all of them. Some of them. No, but that's
a hell of a lot of them. But the disruptors,
but not all of them.
Ones who are causing the police to have to police.
Well, yes, but those who are being arrested, yes, they may be doing bad things. That's why they've been arrested. But a lot of people go on these marches, and supposedly it's all about peace. Although I have to say that some of those peaceful protesters seem to be drowned out by "From the River to the Sea" chants, which
too many of them do not go with peaceful.
But you don't know that, and some people may well do that.
OK, some of them do, of course, but why should Londoners have to put up with their city being disrupted week after week after week by these people? Why?
Stephen Pound was right, and he raised a point I wanted to, that football clubs all around the country pay for police. Because I'm an Everton fan, Merseyside. Everton were playing Aston Villa today, right? It's not.
They lost.
No, it was 0-0.
Oh, no,
sorry. Didn't win. You said with such joy. Mind you, it would be normal for you to say they lost. You'd be on safe ground, yes. But it was actually 0-0. They lost. Well, yeah.
I know nothing about football except you.
Everton Football Club, probably there would be 200 police officers at the game today, keeping everyone safe. Everton Football Club paid for that.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, and Stephen Pound was right, and the panel raised some really interesting points. Who is organising all of this? Because there are factions. There are people being bussed down from Bradford, people being bussed down from Sheffield, from London. There are factions and factions and factions. I'm not sure what the umbrella group is, so who are you actually going to present a bill to? But what is really frustrating is the futility of their protests. If they honestly think that they can change what's going on between Israel and Gaza, then they are deluded. But I don't think that they can change it.
Why do you think they're doing it then?
Well, because they hate Israel. They hate Israel.
Not all of them, though. Again, I just have to caveat it.
And a lot of them hate the West.
I'm speaking generally.
They hate the West.
But that is a huge generalisation to make. A lot of people there are probably protesting against the mass murder that's happening in Gaza of these young people, mostly children, you know.
Yeah, but let's go along with that.
I'm just saying that a lot of people will be protesting with regard to that.
Let's go along with that. So who's carrying out this quote-unquote mass murder stroke
genocide?
Well,
it's a war.
The Israeli government.
No, but this is a war, so
but who started it?
Yeah, but then you could go back in history. But this is a war, so war is always mass murder, by either side. They're not doing it, you know, they're not trying to specifically home in on individuals, although some of the targets are specifically individuals. They're trying to be targeted. But obviously it causes a sort of mass murder, that's what war is at the end of the day, isn't it?
May I get back to my futility point, though?
Yes.
Because they're not going to change any geopolitical,
they're not.
anything geopolitically. The only person that can sway anything to do with Israel is the President of the United States. You can have 80,000 people marching down this road in London every Saturday. It's not going to affect anything.
No, quite
and
right.
that's the futility of it. Remember the Stop the War coalition before we invaded Iraq? There were
Well, but you
1.5
say
million
that it's not going to affect anything, and that might be physically, but psychologically, I think it does have an effect. Because for me, I'm absolutely astounded by the sort of mass support globally for Palestine in the way it has been, and the almost acceptance of anti-Semitism, which I find astonishing. You know, and that psychologically is a weapon in a way, and they are using these sort of psychological behaviours to try and change the narrative or try and infect a different narrative.
Well, look, if the reason that they're doing it is to try and insidiously infect anti-Semitism,
well, I don't know what,
I'm not sure what.
But I do feel there's a geopolitical aspect to it. You know, it's quite intimidating and overwhelming to see the mass anti-Semitism across the world, and I think that psychological effect is something that you must add into your calculations and factor in.
And we shouldn't be allowing that mass intimidation on our streets. I mean, they've had their say, they've had their moment, they've had 2 or 3 or whatever it is. They need to stop now, and we should not allow any more. It is grotesquely unfair to the British Jews living in London just as a small community, never mind the wider community. And they're not going to achieve anything.
But to be fair, look, the British Jews are also having their marches as well, so it's not just...
They're pretty peaceful, and they don't require anything like as much of a police presence.
It does appear that way, but also the Israelis and the Jewish people in this country are having their marches as well. And I'm not saying that, you know, everyone on the pro-Palestinian march is anti-Semitic. I'm just saying that there seems an energy of anti-Semitism that seems to have developed around this, and I just find it unacceptable.
I don't think it's a generalisation to state that everybody on these marches hates the Israeli government. I think that's factual.
No,
because it's the Israeli government.
You can't say that.
Why would you join the march if you supported
Yes.
Israel?
No, you can't say that.
No, that's what I'm saying. You wouldn't join the march if you supported...
They want Israel to stop the bombing of people in Gaza.
Well, we want everybody... I want them all to stop. So Hamas stop the bombing of Israel. Israel stop the bombing of Gaza, and free the hostages, for goodness sake. That's what
I read something the other day which is obvious if you think about it, but I hadn't thought about it, and it really put a chill through me, that there are women who were hostages and have now been released, and there are women who are still hostages who are now pregnant.
Really?
Because they've been raped.
I had no idea of that. Listen, I haven't read that.
Can you imagine having to do that?
So I can't verify what you're saying. I haven't read it.
Well, it stands to reason. If a lot of women have been raped...
But is that something that's been written somewhere that we can read? Where have you read
I can't remember where I saw it, but if you think about it, it stands to reason. If enough women have been raped,
potentially stand to reason, but I don't know whether
that... Which is a horrific
the fact
thought.
that you've made is correct. But we will check that. But this shows nothing without you and your views. Let's welcome our great British voices. Their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. The map is back. Where's she going? Hey. I think Kidderminster. Should we try there to see if John Reid is there?
Over carpets.
Eventually, John. Eventually. Look, he's outside as well. John, do you think it's time for people to cough up and pay for these pro-Palestine protest marches?
I think not only this protest march, but every other protest march, you know, it's misuse of the police, isn't it? However, the pragmatic part of me says, however, would you collect the money? It was just, you know, I think it's too much. Never mind about what they're marching about, because we live in a democracy, don't we? So you can't stop people marching if they feel the need to do so. You might not agree with what they're marching for. I, unfortunately, don't know enough about the Middle East to know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, this march. But if you're talking about the simple question, should we charge for doing the police services, you know, I don't really see how you could possibly go to anybody and get any money. We just go on and on. That's for the court system.
Well, they have to get permission to have the march on, so presumably the organisers. But then, having said that, there's so many hundreds of thousands of people on these marches, they'll probably get the money quite quickly, which is fair enough. It'll save us from spending the money. John in Kidderminster, thank you very much. Nice to see you.